So, Bruce Feldman with the story. Willie Taggart going to Florida State. And, you know, I don't know. I know Willie Taggart is a very good recruiter, but explain to me, guys, what is the fascination with Willie Taggart?
I don't know.
I was just looking at his career record. He turned around.
He's landed two great jobs in 2 years.
Right. He turned around Western Kentucky and then made it to South Florida.
Okay.
It was at South Florida. They went from 2 to 4 to 8 to 10 wins, and now he's at Oregon.
Okay.
I'm more surprised that if you get a job like Oregon that has played for 2 national championships in the past, like, 7 years, and you just, like, kind of leave that with all that money out there and Nike money, and you're just like, okay, I'll go to Florida State. All right. I mean, it's interesting to see just where Oregon is right now. I mean, and then,
did I miss something? I remember him when he got the Oregon job. He talked about that being his dream job.
Well, everybody has a dream job until the next one.
Is he going to use that line in Tallahassee tomorrow?
Definitely.
I hope so.
He certainly will. Now, someone made a nice point on Twitter about why you'd leave Oregon for Florida State. He is a Florida native.
Sure.
Okay.
And this job has come open 2 times in the last 40 years.
No, listen. I don't know anything about Oregon, but I don't want to coach up there.
what about, we were talking in here, Paul, real quick. I mean, do you think Chip Kelly jumped the gun here?
No.
I mean, why not go home? Go back.
I just think, remember, he left there, show cause.
All right.
I think he made the right decision.
Yeah, he's going to be fine down there in Los Angeles.
All right, so then let's go through it. Somebody mentioned, I think Bruce, another tweet put out, Jim McElwain, Oregon.
Anything that comes open in the Pacific Northwest, you're going to hear McElwain's name. We're talking a lot about Oregon. Paul, I'm curious what you think about this. It says more about Florida State to me. Going from Jimbo Fisher to Willie Taggart is a massive step down.
It is.
For a proud program.
I mean, listen, I sat down with Willie Taggart last year, and he's got a good resume, but he's not a dynamic personality. He's a good recruiter, but this. Welcome back. It is over for Willie Taggart in Eugene. He is heading to Tallahassee. And you have to wonder, that Oregon job, is this something that might interest Kevin Sumlin? He certainly has the offensive philosophy that would suit the Oregon way. Interesting days here. A lot of big names making the rounds for that job. We are back. We had a guest on a few minutes ago that said Chad Morris is the name to keep your eye on in the Arkansas race. Kevin Steele and Mel Tucker, 2 defensive coaches, being linked to the Tennessee job. Let's get some more phone calls here at 855-242-7285. Rick is in Nevada. Good afternoon. How are you?
I am fine, Paul. Thank you for taking my call, and hello, fellas in the booth. Well, I'm sitting here watching your show and enjoying it, and I do have a comment about the NFL, but I have to start off to say that both Eric from California, Mr. Trojan, and me being a Bruin, we are now worried because now Oregon's going to go out and get a real coach. You put out an interesting point. What is so hot about Mr. Taggart? Well, I tell you, the season I saw, and true, his quarterback was hurt, but some of his timeouts this year were very questionable. I think Florida State is in for a surprise. They're in for mediocrity, and just we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think Oregon will go out, and they'll benefit by Taggart leaving.
Yeah, listen, I didn't think I thought he made some major blunders last year before he even moved in. I had a bad vibe about Willie Taggart out there, if you remember some of the off the field issues that were going on, and I'm not hating on the guy. I really am not. I think he's a good coach. I just don't know if he's an elite coach.
No, I agree with you, but I saw him this year being, like Eric, a Pac-12 guy all in all, and I've seen some Oregon games, and again, I will say Herbert was hurt, and I'll give him that much, but there was some play calling and timeouts that he took. I wasn't impressed. I think Oregon's going to benefit by this. I really do. And as far as Florida State, I think they're going to be looking at, like you pointed out, 8-9 wins. They're not going to be in that echelon they think they're going to be. And just one more comment about the NFL.
We welcome you back. Glad you are with us. It is already a pretty busy day. That was before the latest news. Andy Staples joining us. He's been hanging out with everyone else in New York. Andy, let me get your reaction to the news of this hour. Certainly, Willie Taggart was the #1 candidate all along to replace Jimbo. How good of a move is that for FSU? We know he's a great recruiter, but fill in the rest of the blanks.
I think it's a very good move. It's interesting schematically because if you remember correctly, Willie Taggart comes from the Harbaugh tree. He played for Jack at Western Kentucky, and it's kind of viewed as another Harbaugh brother, and used to run an offense very similar to what Jim runs at Michigan, but then had to change it to basically save his job at USF, and created the Gulf Coast offense that you saw Quentin Flowers run, and then you saw just running it at Oregon this year. So now he's going to a place where he can get the best athletes. What will he do? Will he blend that old offense with the new one? Because he can do a lot with the kind of guys he's going to have at Florida State. He'll have a lot of versatility. You saw James Blackman this year. He'll probably get better. DeAndre Francois will be back and healthy, so he's got some options at quarterback. I mean, I think this is a pretty good hire from a coaching standpoint, too, because you got to remember, we took over Western Kentucky and USF. They were in really bad shape. And by the time he left, they were in really good shape. And now he'll take over a program that, look, they had a bad year, but Florida State's not in bad shape. They still have a really good roster and can be competitive for the ACC title right away. So I think it's a pretty good hire.
Let's move to some of the other openings. Continue with more phone calls at 855-242-7285. Jason is in Bowling Green. Go right ahead.
Hey, Paul. I failed to see the elite coach status, as you mentioned, with Willie Taggart. I had a chance to see him when he was at Western Kentucky, and I never was really that greatly impressed. And as Andy Staples kind of pointed out in your earlier conversation, he was pretty darn near having some rumblings down there at USF when he had a bad year and had some off-the-field problems with some players as well. But I just failed to see it. I know there's probably some coaches out there shaking their head like, Willie Taggart's, looked at for this job before myself. I'm thinking, I look at David Shaw, the kind of character he exhibits and the kind of coach he is, and a coach like that, I just feel like he would have a better, fit there. But I understand Willie's got an attachment to Florida, being from there. And
yeah, I understand that. And by the way, and I'm not being critical of my colleagues here, but I can't tell you how many times a coach, and I've been guilty of this myself, how many times a coach gets hired and everyone says the same thing, that's a home run hire. Most of these are not home run hires.
I agree with you, and we had that as a Louisville fan, through the years. We've had some deadbeats as well, but it's just, I just fail to see that. I just see all these other coaches out there, Paul, and and Willie Taggart is a love fest for him, and he's a good coach, but I just don't see him leading at one of the top 3 programs in the country.
No, I mean, when you take over Florida State, you better be good. I mean, that's
absolutely.
You got Dan Mullen, you got Mark Richt, you have Dabo Sweeney you have to deal with. That's not a Willie Taggart has a reputation as a really good recruiter, but let's see it. I think it's a good hire. I don't think it's a great hire.
I agree. Thanks a lot, Paul.
Thank you very much. I mean, again, I'm out of the superlatives because I think most of my colleagues have already used them up on every other hire that's been made. I'm just trying to be realistic. It's a good hire. He's not Jimbo Fisher, though. Jimbo Fisher was a really strong hire. He was in heavy demand, and he got that job, and it took him a couple of years, but he won a national championship. There's only one team that can win a national championship every year. Unless you're at Alabama, then you pretty much win it every year. Or claim it.